right, day 2, March Madness. Day 1 went pretty calm, I would say, as far as the madness. No buzzer beaters, only a couple close games. I think favorites went, 12-4 favorites. So not too crazy of a day. I know Steve had a couple battles in the DFS Mania bracket on DraftKings. Always a fun sweat, unless it goes bad like it did for our boy Gavin. Steve, how was day 1?
Day 1 was interesting. We had tight pricing like we talked about on the show. That definitely showed up in the Mania. It was a bunch of coin flips. Yeah, I feel really bad for Gavin. He had a bad run out at the end of that Yale game, had a real good shot. But the big thing was that biggest news spot, the Gonzaga starters with Braden Huff, went our way. He was way lower owned than he should have been because people didn't want to wait for the news. And he went for 39 at 4,900. He was the best player on the court.
What was he owned in the Mania?
Well, both of my opponents had him, but like in the $20, he was like 30% owned. And he was, I locked him in every lineup. But yeah, so.
What was he, 4,900, right?
Yeah, and went for 39 DK. So, he was a great play. It was good to see that DK was pushing back the lock times based on when the games actually started. So all that bitching to the DK reps helped because, like with injury stuff's like not injury stuff, but stuff like the Gonzaga spot yesterday is huge. Like it made the entire slate.
Enormous. So. And what if you knew that before the slate, he'd have been 80% instead of 30%.
Right. So stuff like that matters. So really good to see them change what they had done in the past and changed a lot because we know they can do it. Like they do it for golf all the time. So,
yeah. What'd you think overall though of the day? I thought.
How about?
I had fun watching the games. Don't get me wrong. Sat there and watched them all day. Had all the TVs going like always, but I wasn't. There was only a few parts of the whole day where I was like, man, this game's going to the wire. And one of them was our featured matchup between our squads. I seen all your little prelim texts coming in, like, oh, it's over. I couldn't wait to send the hammer back. It was a close game to the end, and depends on what number people got. Maybe you covered, maybe you didn't, either side. But that was like one of the only games, and I didn't even feel like that game was that well played. It was just like it kind of went how I expected.
Well, Michigan sucks, man. Like they just barely got by.
The other team was horrible too. They both just stink.
Well, Taint Jones was in foul trouble the whole game.
He fell out with 12 minutes left or something?
Yeah.
I love too the announcers. I swear they kept saying Taint Jones. I swear.
I know I was on the couch. So.
Oh, absolutely.
But yeah, no, it was actually nice to have that at the end of the night. Kind of wind down with that game. The big surprise in the afternoon was how Clemson started against McNeese.
God.
They just could not put the ball.
They were so bad, man.
Locken fouled 5 times in the second half, including a technical. That was brutal. But McNeese is going to be a tough out for Purdue because of, like, you just saw how athletic that team is. They get up and down, and they're going to have an even bigger athletic advantage against Purdue. So I think that McNeese-Purdue game is super interesting tomorrow. Yale, like we talked about on the show, they're not playing the dentist anymore. Bez Bang got shoved into a locker the entire game, just like we talked about on the show. Biggest fade of the day for me, I played 0% Bang. And he scored 2 points, I think, on some free throws. So that was good to get that right. We talked about the Mizzou-Drake game, like who would be able to control that pace. That was clearly Drake. That game was slow.
Missouri made one run to get my hopes up, and then they just right back off of it.
Yeah, like Drake just – I told you they'll walk it up, and they just refuse to run. Even if they get a turnover, like they'll just stop.
They're just so confident, too. Like there's something to be said for that. They're just so confident.
And they're so well coached, too.
Yeah.
So I think the best game of the day was the Kansas-Arkansas game.
That was 100% the best game of the day because it was well played.
Yeah, and it was like the first game of that night window, too. So really enjoyed that.
That game was awesome, by the way. I thought that game was very well played. I thought that, like that big dude from Arkansas that doesn't usually play as much, the 6-pointer, he was amazing in that game.
I know. So the issue is that now the guy that got hurt, Adu Theoro is why Adu's playing a bunch, and he's going to try to come back tomorrow. It's like, why are we taking away Adu minutes? Like
that dude was amazing in that game. Like amazing.
He controlled the game. He was really good defensively on Dickinson in the second half too. So yeah, that was definitely the best game of the day. But yeah, like turning the page to today, it's a much different slate. The pricing, they just kind of hit the eject button on trying to price these guys. We have a couple spots that we'll get to, but I mean, just looking here at the first game, you can tell, like there's just guys who are over 4.5x littered throughout the entire slate.
Yesterday, you talked about it in the beginning, and I'm like, and we talked about the multipliers. Today there's quite a few guys up over that number.
Yeah. So the big thing with yesterday was I really thought there were only 2 or 3 playable guys under 5K, and we've got a bunch of them today. Like it kind of forced you to play Denver Jones yesterday, from Auburn.
What did he finish with? How many fantasy?
Like 23 or something like that, which is good for his price. But I didn't really like that much under 5K, which is why we're playing all of those guys right around that 5K number. But today there's a ton of viable plays for different reasons. So it's a much different slate.
Yeah, it looks from me being the more novice of the two of us,
easier to build.
I like it better. I like how this pricing is and the spots too, where it kind of lines up as we go through. Definitely fits me better. I'm assuming you being the guy that follows it all year, super sharp, you probably don't like it as much as me, but I definitely like it for
it's sure. Also a better slate if you're playing a bunch of lineups too, just because there's so many ways you can go. And like if you're using something like Saber today, it's going to be a huge leg up.
Yep. All right, let's move on to the first game. I think the SEC, I'm pretty sure, you can correct me if I'm wrong, went 4-3 yesterday though. And 4-3 or 3-2, what was it? I think they went one game above 500, whatever. Yeah. It might have been 3-2. I can't remember. But right out of the gate, another one. Baylor, Mississippi State. Mississippi State is 1.5, 145.5 total. And it doesn't look like there's any amazing spots besides a few cheapies. But what do you see in this game?
Yeah, this is the game on the bracket show that we basically said this is the classic noon Friday tip-off game between two teams who are just kind of meh, and they have not been great whatsoever down the stretch. Baylor's gone with a lot of zone since the loss of Ojongwuna, and now face a team that cannot shoot in Mississippi State. Baylor's got the talent and the athletes here with Edgecombe going to be probably a top 5 pick in this draft. So this will be fun to see him up against an SEC team. As far as main lineup plays, it's kind of tough. Omir's going to play as much as he can unless he fouls. He's more of like a floor stud, though, for me. I just have trouble seeing him really running away against a tough Mississippi State front court. We did see yesterday, like we talked about waiting and seeing, but then Jemiah Neal in the first game on the slate put up the highest score on the slate with like that 53. We talked about him on Creighton yesterday being a contrarian.
He was amazing in that game too.
Yeah,
he was huge.
He controlled that game. But as far as this, so the story is, again, the cheap guys on the slate. There's so many guys under 4,500 that are in play. Baylor's got multiple starters under 4,500. So I think these guys are better for, like, if you're playing multiple lineups, you just kind of rotate those cheap Baylor guys. But I'm probably not going to have any on like a main lineup.
Yeah. So I'm assuming the cheap guys are what? Nunn, Wright, and Celestine or something?
Yeah. So Wright, and then either Nunn or Celestine will probably start. Roach is the Duke transfer. He was hurt for a bit, and then kind of held his minutes back because the freshman.
Roach?
Jeremy Roach.
I might have pulled him. Oh, I pulled him off my list.
Yeah. So he has the least amount of ceiling of those 4, I think. Robert Wright is the freshman guard who was starting for a bit when Edgecombe was hurt. His usage has taken a dip. He might be hitting like a freshman wall of some sorts, but good score, but not like a main lineup play. But yeah, I mean, yesterday if these guys at these prices were on yesterday's slate, they would have been 30% owned. But we just have so many options today, and the minutes could really go to any of them. Like it's going to be a hot hand type of thing because it's basically 4 guys for 2.5 spots.
Yeah, it looks like it. So Mississippi State, they don't have any shooting.
No, one of the worst shooting teams in the country. Let me pull it up. 297th in 3-point percentage, shooting 31% on the year against the zone. Should be interesting. I actually kind of lean this game under, but I don't know, the defense, like Baylor's defense isn't great. So it's kind of a stay away
It
from
might
me.
look great if they pack in that zone and make them shoot.
Yep.
It may look better than it is.
Right. On the Mississippi State side, Josh Hubbard is basically a scoring reliant stud. So I actually don't think I've played him the entire year because he's had 1 or 2 nuke games. And then because of that, his price has been so high that it's been hard to get to. I'm definitely not playing anyone on this slate that projects under 4X. So
yeah,
he's tough. Keyshawn Murphy, just your ultimate tournament play. He comes off the bench as a bench forward, super active guy. You can see here, 26 minutes. He has a median projection of 30. So he's a good tournament play. Cam Matthews is like their junkyard dog guy, peripheral floor type of roster there at 6'6".
Yeah. It looks like, so we got a question too. You like the Baylor? I like the Baylor side personally, just because it violates my SEC rule, but I do think Baylor matches up good with.
Yeah, I mean, we took Baylor in the bracket. I haven't bet it, but I lean Baylor wins this game.
It probably will be a game too, honestly. Like we saw a bunch today where in the first 5 minutes if you're in good shape with which side, because if they can find a way to make them shoot and not make shots. A lot of these coin flip games, like right away yesterday, I knew we were in trouble with Louisville. Like Creighton was getting
right away in the UCLA game. I told you that Utah State teams
they were maybe the worst of the day. For all things considered,
how were they at 10
seed? They were bad.
They were so bad.
Yeah, like so bad. And they made
VCU,
it close.
We kind of knew early that BYU was just going to shoot too much for them.
You could tell right away in that game too that it was trouble. They were just getting wide open shots.
You could tell in the Drake game that Mizzou was not going to be able to run.
You could tell right away. Like there was a lot of games where you didn't. I didn't have that many sweat. The only game that I think we had a second half on the Clemson where it got a little dicey at the very end. But man, it was not a day.
Clemson scored 54 points in the second half. They just couldn't do anything in the first half.
Nothing. Like it was embarrassing how bad it was. All right, we got to move it along. The second game, Bama 21.5, 166.5 total in college.
Yep.
Woo, doggy. But what do we got here? Got to be some plays, I assume.
Yeah. Well, the total's high. Bama number 1 tempo in the entire country. They drag everyone up with them. Robert Morris is led by a stretch big Alvaro Fulgaris. We played him a bunch last week in the conference tournaments for, like midweek smaller conference tourneys. He's good. He really stuffs the stat sheet. He can shoot from the perimeter. He's a big white stiff though up against Bama. I think he's in consideration for a main lineup just because of this pace and because of the team total. Like it's probably one of the higher team totals of the season for Robert Morris. I worry a bit about fouls with him against Bama, just like the size and physicality of Bama's front court. But I mean, he does impact the game basically every possession, and that's kind of what we want. He was like 8,800 last week in his conference tournament. So we get a bit of a discount here that's shown in the price tag. The big news for Bama is stretch for Grant Nelson. We don't have the confirmed news yet, but he got hurt in the SEC tournament. He's been like trying to practice with this big knee brace on. I think they hold him out, which is what's reflected here, which is why we see Diabate, Holloway, and Stevenson have good projections because mainly Stevenson and Diabate are going to eat up those minutes if Grant Nelson can't go. This is an early game, though, so we will know because it's the second tip it's the first one of that window at that location. So we will know ahead of time if Grant Nelson's going to play. The issue is, so Diabate is one of the highest fantasy point per minute guys in the country. He usually doesn't play that much, but him stepping into a larger role, like if he starts here, I think he's an awesome play at 5'6", just because he racks up fantasy points so quickly. He's got minutes upside, obviously, if he starts. The question is, what do you do if Jaron Stevenson starts? Jaron Stevenson's a lower usage guy, mainly a three-point shooter, and then Diabate would be off the bench. Like, are you playing a bench guy at 5'6"? I think definitely in tournaments, just because of the upside. But the question is, like, for a main lineup, like, say, in the Mania or, like, in the 222 or single entry, are you playing a mid-5K bench player? So that's probably one of the biggest decision points on the slate, honestly.
Yeah, I think just looking at it, just eyeballing it, the 3K guys like Stevenson are definitely better plays. But Diabate has to be in play too, especially if he doesn't start. I can't. That's like a Kurt tournament play if he somehow didn't start. 5,600 off the bench, too much value. But I do get what you're saying. A big point per minute guy. I let the 3K guys look like they just can't miss though. They might play in a close game, they might play in a blowout. I mean, these guys, what? Holloway, Stevenson, and even this Sherrill dude that I know isn't projected like crazy. But again, like I said yesterday, 3,200 in a 21 spread. Like, I like these 3K guys. What about Sears, though? Is there any reason to play Sears in a game like this?
So they've been, especially in games where they are up, they've been letting the younger guards get more time, more experience, more run. They need to get Philon, Youngblood. Well, Youngblood isn't young, but they need to get Philon and Holloway going here in the tournament if they're going to make a run. So I could see them pulling back on Sears if they're up, 20 in the second half, which could totally happen against Robert Morris here. So, yeah, I think Holloway's a good play. Issue is he's not going to start, so he's a bench guard. My lean is that Stevenson starts for Grant Nelson if Grant Nelson's out. We've seen him start before. I think they like bringing Diabate off of the bench, just kind of like an Energizer Bunny type of guy.
And guys like that, too, their minutes are somewhat capped whether he starts or not. Could be the counterpoint to what I said. Like, he's not going to ever just play the whole game or something. So,
yeah. Also, like, even just those first 4 minutes in the first media timeout is huge for a guy like him, where he's like 1.3 fantasy point per minute, it increases his ceiling from like 26 to 30, even something like that is huge.
Absolutely. Let's move it along. We got another somewhat big spread. Iowa State 14.5, 143.5 versus Lipscomb. This game, let me pull up the numbers. Looks like we got a few guys that are decently projected for Iowa State, but the Lipscomb side definitely looks, well, I'll let you talk about it since you actually know these dudes.
Yeah, so Iowa State, top 5-ish defense in the country. Going to be tough for me to get to Lipscomb on a main lineup at least. They're led by their hub big, Onasevich. He's like the entire offense runs through him. Like he'll get a touch inside on most possessions and either score or kick it out. So lots of opportunities for points there. The issue is Iowa State's just a really, really tough defense. So on a 16-game slate, so usually, like say he was playing Arizona or something here, he would be like a main lineup guy just because of his, peripheral upside. But it's just a tough spot for him. We did dock. So what I was talking about with Captain last night, we put larger docks on any team going up 5+ seed lines. We saw it yesterday with the Yale guys, like we saw it in several matchups where, it's just a way different level of competition. Like Lipscomb's playing a top 5 defense here. Yes, I get that, his box scores look great, but he hasn't been being guarded by Josh Jefferson the entire season. So I'm off of Lipscomb guys here. The Iowa State news is that their guard, Keshawn Gilbert, is going to miss the tournament. We talked about this on the bracket show. That's going to force Curtis Jones into big minutes. Curtis Jones was like their sixth man the entire year. He's an absolute bucket. We saw it in their conference tournament. He had that first half where he had like 23 real points at halftime. So Curtis Jones, I think, is an awesome tournament play. He's going to be a bit scoring reliant, so keep that in mind. But like you see here, like the upside compared to guys who are around his price point is definitely higher. So Curtis Jones is my favorite play in this game. Nate Heisey will probably play a bunch too. He's like a lower usage guard that's just going to step in and kind of control the ball. Nate Heisey would have been a core play for us yesterday. That's the difference in the pricing here from day to day. So I think Heisey's a solid play, not a great play, just because the upside's a bit capped for him. So it's basically Curtis Jones, Josh Jefferson up top. We saw him when Gilbert was out. You know, it's obviously not a 1-for-1 sub, but just like the usage that's opened up from having a lead guard out. We've seen Josh Jefferson as the main front court guy. He was up at 10K, Tony, when Gilbert was out before. So he's got big time ceiling. I think he's a really fun tournament play, and I think he's going to get lost in the shuffle on this slate. So Josh Jefferson and Cujo, Curtis Jones, two really, really good tournament plays on this slate, I think.
One other guy I had bookmarked that I thought you would talk about is Deshaun Jackson. He looked like he kept getting more and more run during that tournament, 21, 24, 26 minutes. That didn't sync up with the injury at all, or no?
Well, it's just because he wasn't fouling as much. So he's like a 6 fouls per 40 guy.
Oh, he's a big foul guy.
Yeah, he's a foul guy. So I haven't played much of him this year. His rates are good. So like if he's able to stay out of
price looks cheap.
Yeah. I think he's a good play in tournaments for sure. Like he's also 5K. Yeah, I mean, I think you definitely mix him in if you're playing a bunch of lineups. He's just not the style of guy that I
don't like foul guys. I get tilted if at least the coaches stop just auto sitting as much as they used to.
Yeah. Well, this Iowa State team is deep in the front court too. They've got Watson, they got Chatfield. Like they've got options if you foul. So they don't need to like jam him in with 2 fouls. They'll probably be controlling the game too, you know. So he gives me a bit of pause just because of the minutes are basically capped at what he played in their conference tournament. And he's also a guy that haven't played much this year, which is why I kind of glossed over him. I think that we probably just saw his best 3 games of the entire season.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. All right, let's move on to Colorado State, Memphis, 12 seed favored over 5 seed, 1.5 point spread. So close, 146.5. I know on the bracket show, you like Memphis. What has changed since then, if anything?
It hasn't. I mean, I'm actually kind of annoyed that the teams are playing each other because we kind of rode both teams throughout their conference tournament, especially Colorado State. But as you know, Tony, you just have to know when to hop off. And I think this is the spot. I like Memphis here. I took them plus the 3.5 earlier this week. Them getting Dane Danger playing max minutes just unlocks the ceiling of this team. He's the Illinois transfer. He looked great in that conference tournament. Price is up now, but man, like pull up his last couple box scores, just absolutely smashing right now. Sky high upside, awesome tournament play. He's probably going to be on my GPP list for sure in this game. PJ Haggerty, All-American guard. There are 3 big-time studs in this game. Haggerty, Nick Clifford, probably a core play for most today. One of the best peripheral guards in the country. He's going to be playing in the NBA next year. That's Colorado State stud. So I think is going to be one of the better games of the entire day. The stars are out on both sides. But there are also cheap guys in play too. Like you can see here, Jalen Lake, Kyan Evans for Colorado State, both underpriced. Memphis is without Tyrese Hunter here, which is going to push more minutes to guys like Colby Rogers. And we saw Baraka Okogie start in that last conference tournament game. So the upside's capped here. Like you see 26 minutes, 14 DK. But again, like if he was on the slate yesterday, he would have been 30% owned. So just a guy to kind of mix in, or if you like a lineup where you land on, that mid 3K range, I think Okogie's at least playable. The pace is going to be good in this game. The total's healthy. But yeah, I think this game is mostly about the 3 stars.
It looks like good, like you said, too. These are the games I like. The total's big enough. It looks like, especially in a tournament atmosphere, they're going to go – everything's going to go through these guys. This Nikkei dude looks amazing. I watched him in the conference tournament, too. Colorado State just absolutely barbecued a few of the teams that I went against them with. So I was planning on liking Colorado State, but I actually like how Memphis matches up, too. And when you see these studs at 4 to 5X – that means more than the scrubs at 4 to 5X too. Like these guys, can I play I obviously can play a star from each team. Can I play both studs from Memphis, or is it a one type thing? Can they both get there?
I would probably play one, because the way that those guys crush is like Haggerty will score like 7 straight possessions,
They go to the hot hand. Play mismatch.
Yeah. Danger in the conference tournament, if you pull up his box scores, like he was the mismatch, and like he was the guy who, was taking 20 shots. And
he's going to be the mismatch today, too. Like he's going to eat.
I really like Danger. My Discord name for a couple of days was Steve Danger after his conference tournament run, carrying us through. So, yeah, I think he's an awesome play. Clifford, probably a core play for me in a main team. I have
to play that guy, I think.
How do you not play a 9K guy with a median projection of 45?
And he just looks like an absolute beast. I just have to.
So we were at the Mountain West tournament last week, and a guy who doesn't watch any college hoops tournament is like, that's the pro on the court, Yeah. You can tell right away.
Yeah, I like that. This looks like a good game. We need a good afternoon game. Yesterday's, a couple of those afternoon games were terrible. We need a good, solid battle. But this one looks good to me. I agree. You probably, especially with 16 games, if it was a shorter slate, maybe you could play both studs. But there's too many games. There's too many values where some of these studs didn't hit their ceilings yesterday as much. Obviously, a few did. But today, I think we see a couple more ceiling spots.
We're going to see some big scores in the lobby today because of this pricing.
All right, let's move on. Duke, massive favorite, 32.5, 140.5. I heard last night that Cooper's probably going to play, but obviously coming off an ankle, can't imagine he runs out anything crazy in a 32-point spread at 9,600. But can you play him just because he's Cooper Flag and maybe he's not injured?
So I will say this is the cheapest price you've seen on Cooper Flag since like the first game of the season. He's been 11K, 10.8. So there is that. We're conservative on his minutes. It might actually not even be conservative enough. But even in blowouts, Tony, so Duke blew out a ton of teams this year, right? Even in their blowout games, he was seeing 30, 32. So we have a 28 here, and he's still at 4X. Like, his rates are so good. We talked about it with the Broom game yesterday, and Broom wasn't really needed in that game. I could see the same thing here. On a slate where we have locked in studs that we know are playing 38 minutes, like Clifford, like a Haggerty, like a Danger, like a couple guys that we're going to talk about coming up. It's going to be hard for me to click on Flag here. I mean, they're 35-point favorites.
The only good part at all, the only selling point, though, is he's literally going to be totally unowned as the best player in the country.
Yep.
That's the only selling point. You can't do it on a single entry, though. It's got to be
if you're playing the $20, you can play some.
What happens if he isn't near as hurt as people think, and he just plays a normal game and just smashes?
If he plays his normal 35 minutes here, he's gonna 50 plus.
At no percent owned.
I will say I don't like anyone else in the game here. So I think it's flag or pass. Duke is just way too big for teams like this. I mean, they're way too big for most power conference teams. Tony, like their smallest guy is 6'5", 6'6". So like they look like an NBA type size roster out there, which most teams just can't play against, right? Especially these smaller conference teams, like their point guard's 5'11". You're just giving up way too much size. So this is Duke, name your score. Mount St. Mary's struggles to score 50. Yeah.
Belt to ass spot. All right, let's move it along. A lot of games. St. Mary's 4.5, 135.5 over Vandy. St. Mary's plays the same way they always play. Same coach, same system, same everything. Vandy, I don't know much about Vandy though. I actually haven't watched them a ton. Yeah. But SEC, but I'm guessing not as good. The bottom tier of SEC. I have to like St. Mary's for our boy Gav. What's the deal here?
Yeah, I mean, we can't go against Gav's guys after what happened to him last night. He needs this one bad.
St. Mary's can't get beat by Vandy. We might not see him for the rest of March.
I know. He might delete his Discord and everything. This is the Drake, Missouri type of thing from yesterday. You got slow team that does not allow transition. St. Mary's allows their 99th percentile transition defense. So and Vandy is kind of like Mizzou in that they want to get out and run. Vandy's coach is the JMU coach from last year. If you remember that team that was in the tournament, he plays a deep rotation. So Vandy guys have been tough to get to the entire year. I've basically been full avoiding them, and I avoid guys against St. Mary's. So after the show, I'm actually going to ask Captain to dock all the Vandy guys just a little bit because I think they're a little hot here. AJ Hoggard would be the only guy I would consider on Vandy just because of the price tag. He's coming off a couple of foul games, which just puts his price below 5K. This is the Sparty transfer. So I think Hoggard would be the only guy on Vandy. St. Mary's, they are run by Gus Marshallonis. A guy named Gus. Got to have some interest here in a pace up. He will play all 40 minutes. So big time floor there for him. What's tough for me is like he's only 1,000 less than Nick Clifford. He's only 800 less than Dane Danger. Does he have the upside to 50 like those guys do? Especially like in a game like this where I think there's a decent chance it's kind of like the Drake game where like they get out early, they just kind of sit on it. And we saw basically no one from the Drake game get even close to paying off value. So I could see that happening here. The guy I like in tournaments is Morauskas for St. Mary's. He's been in the mid 7Ks all season. His issues is he's basically like a discount version DFS wise of Graham EK, where he has a bunch of games where he just fouls early, never really gets into it, and that hurts his minutes. But like if he doesn't foul, he's got upside for 35 minutes. And like Tony, if you had Morauskas at 33 minutes here, he would project for 5.5x. So I think he's one of the more interesting mid-range tournament plays of the slate.
What minutes do you have him at?
So we have 28 because he fouls a lot. But I'm saying like in games where he doesn't foul early, we've seen
which dude?
Polish Morauskas, this dude here.
I had the wrong guy up, I think. I was looking at the other dude with the long name. I'm like, he's gonna play more minutes than that. I knew I was missing something. That's why I had to ask.
Yeah.
Morauskas. Okay, I got
Morauskas a front court guy. He has games where he like fouls and just kind of gets, pushed out of the rotation. But the games that he doesn't foul, you'll see he has upside for 34, 35 minutes and big scores. So this is the cheapest we've seen him all season by about 1,000. So I think in tournaments, he's super interesting because if he does get those mid 30s minutes, he can put up a 40 for under 6K.
Yeah, which obviously, to say the least, is going to make a big difference on a slate like this. Just looking at his numbers and stuff, these are the guys I like to play in tournaments because, like you said, you can see it every time he gets minutes. I mean, you see a 49, a 42.
If things fall his way, he can crush,
And that's all that matters because these guys, when they when they get in there and do that, they're not owned ever, and that's how you win a slate. And then I like it because you can play a lot of chalk with a guy like that too.
Yep.
Pop him in there, and then it doesn't matter because he's not going to be owned, especially in a game like this.
Also, in that price range, like I think it's going to be more stars and scrubs today just because of the cheap value. And yeah, I mean, I think he just kind of gets overlooked here, especially because he's fouled the last couple games. But as you can see in his box scores, like he does have the upside for 40 here.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. This game too. I like St. Mary's a decent amount in this game too. I think they play well.
Me too.
I mean, they're just a team I like to play in this spot. I learned my lesson with Drake yesterday too. They're just a tough matchup. They're just you gotta dictate the pace against these teams. If you don't, you're just in big trouble. And if they get a lead on you,
they're just
you're in even more trouble. You got to get out early. Like you got to get Vandy's got to go out like 12-4 or something early on.
Also, can you imagine being Vandy finally make the tournament and you draw St. Mary's instead of like
a team you'd like to play less than freaking St. Mary's?
It's like going to the dentist.
Obviously, the stud teams.
Yeah, it's like going to the dentist playing St. Mary's.
Yeah, like no way they're excited about that.
Yeah.
All right, let's keep it moving. Carolina, our polarizing team, 1.5 versus Ole Miss, 155.5 total. Carolina, man, I'm definitely. There's a few games I'm definitely betting today. I'll put them in the Discord too because people are saying they wanted them in there. But man, Carolina's got to be one of them. I have to take them today. So I hope you're on board with me. But what you got?
Yeah, they're what did Gavin say on the show? Piss missile right now.
Yes.
Yeah, ever since they started playing more Jalen Withers, like he's that stretch 4 piece that they've had the last couple of years. We saw it when they had Pete Nance. We saw it when they had Brady Manick, Tony. Just like having that big that can stretch the floor for the UNC scheme is so big. And they haven't had that all year until they started playing Withers. And now he's playing 30, 32 minutes, and he's playing well. So he kind of unlocks the offense. He spaces things out for RJ Davis, so RJ Davis can get to the rim. Ole Miss is an interesting defense to play, but man, I just kind of want to keep riding Carolina here. Like we talked about on the show, Carolina's losses since February 1st are at Duke, against Duke in the tournament, home against Duke, and at Clemson. So like they've taken care of business in games against, not Duke. My only concern would be, man, all the ACC teams yesterday looked like shit.
Looked awful.
Yeah, terrible. So that's the only thing that's kind of in the back of my head, but I am with you. I mean, we picked Carolina in the bracket show. I like them here too. DFS-wise, I don't love a ton. You can kind of see from the projections here, RJ Davis, I think, is playable, but he hasn't had that ceiling that he's had in the last couple of years just because
he doesn't do anything besides score.
Yeah, so like the peripherals aren't there. And he's got big-time athletes like UNC always does. They've got 2 5-star guys, Ian Jackson and Drake Powell, who are going to take shots, and Powell's going to rebound and stuff. The interesting freebie here, which I know that you're going to have in your pool, Devon Barnes for Ole Miss is one of their bench guys. He's been like low 4Ks the entire season. For some reason, they just dropped him to min price here today. He hasn't done much, but having just a stone min guy in your pool allows you to make some different type of lineups. So I think he can do enough.
Playing the 20s minutes too. You're going to get a friggin' 3K guy that plays 20 minutes.
Yep. So I think he's definitely in the pool here.
And it's a 155 total. Like that's slam dunk city.
Getting paced up by Carolina. He's not going to start, but he is going to play. So when I was doing minutes yesterday, I was scrolling down. I was like, where is Devon Barnes? I saw that he was down with all like the walk-ons and stuff at 3K. So I think he's definitely interesting for tournaments. Like I said, he's just going to give you a different lineup build too than most people if you use him. Like, you can get an extra stud. You can bump up from the 7K range. It gives you a
different build is literally what it is. Like you can play. It doesn't matter what he scores, honestly. Like it really doesn't. It just gets you on a different build.
Yeah. So Warren Tyler in the chat, hoping Malik D gets 30 minutes again. Yeah, well, good luck. Malik Dia, awesome rates. He is a true enigma. He'll have games where he plays 30, games where he plays 18. Good rates guy. He's just extremely hard to trust, which is why he's been sitting at 6K the entire season, because he'll have games where he does well, but most games he just kind of gets phased out. So, yeah, I like the player. I just don't trust the role, honestly.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's keep it moving because we are still not even halfway through the day. We got Grand Canyon, Maryland. Maryland is 10.5, 150.5 is the total. I'm sure Grand Canyon plays the same way, at least I assume. So they're going to want to get up and down. Maryland obviously is okay with that too. So what do we got here?
Yeah, fastest paced Maryland team we've seen in a long time. The Crab Five. I love this team, man. The issue that they're going to have in the tournament is if they have a game where their bigs get in foul trouble, which is what we talked about if they play Florida. But here, they should be able to control this game at the rim with Reese and Queen. The only issue is that we're not really getting big price discounts like we are on other teams. The only guy who's priced down in this game is Selton Miguel, the guard. So I think he's playable here, especially in tournaments. Maryland's known for just shoving their starters basically the entire game because they have no bench. So I think Queen and Reese are playable in tournaments. Reese got a little bit of a price discount after he struggled in the Big Ten tournament. So, we saw Reese over 9K for most of the season. So I think Reese is really interesting against Grand Canyon. The big thing for Grand Canyon is that their star, Tyon Grant Foster, is back, played in their conference tournament. He's really good.
He's the dude I remember calling SGA last year in the tournament. Like, so he looks just like SGA.
Yeah, and he's super talented. So if they're going to stick in this game, it's going to be on his back. He came back 3 games ago. We're pretty aggressive on his minutes. He played 21, 26, and 29, kind of ramping back up. I think the 32 minutes, I mean, it's pretty aggressive, but like if he doesn't play over 30, they're probably dead to win. So I wanted to be aggressive on him. I think he's a decent play. Maybe it's like a bring back if you play like a Queen and Miguel or a Reese and Miguel, but not too much from this game. It would be the 2 Maryland studs, the stud bigs, Miguel, and some Grant Foster.
I like it. I think that Grant Foster is pretty sneaky in this spot. Just he had so much confidence last year. I just that has to mean something in these games, and he's going to be another guy that just isn't owned. So just like I know I don't watch college as much, but I know in basketball, NBA, like the way to win these tournaments is to get a different guy up in these price ranges. Sometimes play this chalk value, pivot onto a Grant Foster type guy, and when they go for 60 or something at 1% owned, you just smash the field. It's just what happens. So I like that. Let's keep it moving, though, because we've got a lot of games left. Florida, Norfolk State. This one hopefully is close because or a quick one. 28.5, 153.5. Tell me there's nothing weird in this game, like some Norfolk guy I got to play or something.
No, we're not playing any Norfolk here. This is a name your score game for Florida. What we talked about on the show and why no one's in play for a main lineup for Florida is their big strength is their depth and how good they are. Like their second and third units are really good. So you see the max projection here is right around 4X, honestly, where we've seen a bunch of big projections. So this is a cross-off game for me. We'll get involved when Florida plays either OU or UConn on Sunday because both of those defenses are terrible and Florida's going to put up a big number on them.
Who's this dude? Steve Aberdeen.
Denzel Aberdeen for Florida. Yeah, I'm probably not playing a guy who's probably playing under 20 minutes and projects for 2.9X on this slate. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah. All right. Let's keep it moving. Troy, Kentucky, 11.5, 151.5. As a Calipari guy that was pissed how Kentucky screwed him, I would love to see Kentucky somehow lose. How sad everyone would be with Cal winning that game and then them losing. But I don't see it today. I don't see how this Troy team can beat Kentucky. But what do we got in this game?
For some reason, it's also pulling up the Duke projections here because I put in UK. But the big news for Kentucky long term is that Lamont Butler's going to play in the tournament. We're pretty conservative on his minutes here. We got 26. I could see him playing more. I think he's at least interesting to look at. The big one here on the Troy side, so they're getting mega paced up, and they have a stud in Tatum Connerway. I think he's the guy that we really have to look at, especially for a main team here. Basically a 5x projection at 7,500, I think is super interesting. If you pull up his boxes, it's just very, very consistent guy getting a huge pace. Like Kentucky just drags everyone with them. So just a big boost to Connerway. I think he's one of the more interesting plays on the entire slate, honestly.
No, he's what, 2, 4, 6. You make fun of me for my game logs, but his game logs are amazing for 7,500.
They're awesome, aren't they? Yeah.
And he's going against Kentucky. He's got to be like a slam dunk.
Yeah, I think he's a borderline core play, honestly. And he's going to be a guy where I'm not really concerned if they get a bit blown out, because I think he's just going to play the whole game anyway. So really like Connerway here. Kentucky's probably a pass for me, honestly, unless you want to play in Amari Williams, who's the entire season has been one of the best tournament plays in the country. He's never going to see 30 minutes, but the rates are just so elite. He has some foul games. I could see them pushing his minutes up a bit in the tournament. I'm not sure if this is the spot that they're really going to push and go all in on his minutes, but you get a bit of a price discount here. He's been high 8s, I think, for a while. So Amari Williams would be in my pool if I'm playing the $20.
These freaking Troy guys, I was not expecting this as I'm digging in while you're talking. These guys look like by far the best plays on the slate to me. I mean, these three dudes, Connerway, Dowd, and
Rigsby.
Like, they look incredible to me. Like, I was not expecting that when I pulled this up.
Yeah, well, UK top 20 pace, and like they're going to have to play at
a bunch of minutes.
Yeah, so I think Dowd.
I don't see how you don't play two of these three guys. Seriously, like.
Well, just wait until we get to the Arizona game.
It's even better than this.
Yeah.
This is the best one I've seen so far on this slate. It's like, oh my God, these guys are good plays. There was nothing like this yesterday that I saw where I'm like, oh man, this dude is going to crush. And Kentucky plays no defense on top of it. It's got to be one of that. It's just real good spot. All right, let's move it along. Marquette 3.5, 152.5, and versus New Mexico. I think New Mexico sucks, but what's going on in this game?
That whole conference sucks.
Oh my God, Cam Jones is going to nuke too. Wow.
Yeah. So remember when I said that we have really good studs on this slate?
Woo, doggy.
Cam Jones, 9,200, really good price tag for him, getting a massive, massive pace up. You know, if you watched any of the Mountain West tournament, you saw New Mexico just run. We pull up their pace real quick. New Mexico, 4th in the country in tempo. So Marquette's going to get dragged into it. Cam Jones is going to thrive in a game like that. We've got an awesome matchup between two All-American guards here with Cam Jones and Don Dent. Don Dent would be like your contrarian play at that same price to Cam Jones. The issue is Jones is not really going to be covered by a great defender, and Don Dent's got one of the best defenders in the Big East, Chase Ross and Stevie Mitchell, that are going to make life tough on Dent. So I lean Marquette in this game. Really like Cam Jones. And then Mitchell and Ross are priced down too. So like these guys have been mid to high 6Ks the whole season. And now we see them at 5.7 and 5.2. I think Mitchell and Ross are really good plays here as well. I don't like the New Mexico guys as much. So it's mainly Cam Jones. And then I do prefer Ross over Mitchell if I had to choose one, just because I think that he has a bit more upside, honestly.
Yeah, I was just scrolling through some of these, but yeah, a lot of these plays are just so much better than yesterday. I mean, this Ross, just anytime he gets any sort of minutes, he just crushes. And even when he doesn't at 5K, he's still getting you more than enough production.
Yeah, he was up at 7K just like a couple weeks ago. So
And that, I mean, these prices on New Mexico, I don't know how you would go. If it was anyone, I'd play this Junior Joseph though, just because the forward seems like Dent. I think Dent is a clear fade. I say that knowing he's a stud. He looks like a clear fade on this, but this Junior Joseph looks like a monster to me.
Yeah, he just plays the whole game, and he's basically
Is
a
he a
lock.
foul trouble risk? What'd you say?
No, I said he plays the whole game, and he's basically a lock for a double-double. And Marquette's main weakness is inside. So
He's gonna crush. Oh,
yeah.
let me, man. It's like you said though. I do get that about this slate. There's so many good plays that man, it's very tough to
it's gonna be tough
to figure out which ones you want.
Yeah, it's gonna be tough to make like one lineup today, right?
I mean, this guy looks like an absolute beast.
He is.
Let's move it along. A couple games left. Oh, here we go with the main DFS game too. Arizona 14.5, 167.5 versus Akron. And we have, I know this just from looking at it before the show, just some guys that you're just going to have to play here. So it's a matter of how many and what's going on here.
Yeah, so we talked about this game on the show. Love Arizona to cover here. I think they put 100 on Akron. We laid the 14 on the show. Akron also likes to play with pace. They're actually faster than Arizona, 16th in the country. Anytime that you run with Arizona, it's big trouble. But because of the total, like the most expensive Akron guy is 5'8" in a 170 total here. So yeah, the Akron guys are popping. Their stud is Nate Johnson. This is like we talked about the show yesterday. These guys yesterday were priced at 8K, but here he is at 5'8". It's going to have a great projection. He's going to play big minutes. Akron does play a deep bench. They're like top 50 in bench minutes, but I don't really think it matters at these price tags, right? Like the rates on a guy like Lyles, who doesn't start, but he's played 20 plus minutes in like every game. So you're getting 20 plus. We're conservative on his minutes here because we don't want him projecting for like 7X, But if we gave him basically the minutes that he's been playing lately, which is like 24-ish, he would be 7X. So just a guy that you're probably going to have to play on a main. And then Tavari Johnson is the other one, mid-4s, awesome projection, basically 5X, going to fit in lineups. The question is, how many Akron are you comfortable playing in a lineup? I think it's probably 2 to 3. And it's going to be tough to get away from, honestly.
I mean, I'll even say it because my mind's easy. One of the things about not following it all year is you can see spots that maybe when you're in the mix every day, I mean, there's just no way you can get away from these plays. Not in basketball where their season's on the line, they're gonna play, and their rates are good. They're everything. There's no downsides to any of these guys. I mean, just like Lyles at 4K, all these guys. It's just you're going to have to. And I always like to play more of these guys than the field even. So if the field's going to play 2 to 3, I want to play 3 or 4. It might be too many to hit the total nuts. I do get that. A lot of people say that even in NBA. Like if you play 4, one of them will probably not get fully there. But the thing about playing 4 is you get them all as like a package where the 3 that crush, you got them, and it just makes it so solid. So just great plays. But what about the other side of this game?
And then, so Arizona is the side where we're not getting any discounts, but again, they could score 100 here. So I actually don't think that you need an Arizona guy if you play like 2 Akron or something like that. But if you wanted to, Love, Vasar, Lewis. Vasar is the guy who has unlocked Arizona's ceiling. He is just an awesome big that was shoved in a lineup when Krivas got hurt. Really, really dynamic big man. His only issue is that he's not going to see like the mid 30s minutes. He's probably capped at 30 or so. So the plays are on the Akron side. I think we just lean into the projections here, and then if you want, you can bring it back with one of the 4 Arizona guys up top.
Yeah. So this dude says, "Good. You good with Cam plus 1 Marquette guy?"
I think that's fine. Yeah, I mean the prices are so good. It's not like you're going out of your way to play a a 3.7x guy on the slate. You're playing Cam plus a guy who projects for 5x. So
Love it. All right, let's move it along. Oklahoma at the not at, but versus the two-time defending champs, UConn, the Fighting Hurleys, 5.5, 148.5. Someone earlier asked about the Survivor too, and I went in the Discord yesterday, said Gonzaga for me was the easiest. UConn today is definitely the easiest for me. I like to take these teams that I know for sure I won't want to use again. They're a 5.5-point favorite, and I know I won't want to use them again. So they would be my number one, but we can talk about that at the end. What as far as this game though, fantasy wise?
Yeah, so we're going to see points in this game. We talked about it the other day. Two poor defenses. That's the big change in the UConn team year over year from the last 2 years. They don't have a Klingon at the rim, and their guards are just turnstiles. So, but that means good. That's good news for us. So we'll start on the UConn side. Real tight rotation around their top four: Caravan, McNeely, Solo Ball, and Hassan Diarra. Really like the price tag on Diarra here. He was a bit banged up during the season, but is fully back, which has dropped his price. Before he was banged up, he was in the 7Ks. He's going to have some big assist upside in this game. Doesn't really need to score to pay off. And then if you do get that scoring, that's when he unlocks the ceiling. So I like DR there at 5.6. Liam McNeely kind of struggled down the stretch. He's their 5-star recruit. He was also hurt for a portion of the year, is now back and playing good minutes. I mean, the reason that they're an 8 seed is because they haven't really shot the ball well. Caravan was not as good as advertised, which, we talked about on the preseason show, how he's not an All-American. Glad to get that one right. But yeah, I mean, all the UConn guys are good plays. And I think that since people just are going to blind shove in optimals, these guys are just like a hair lower in projections than guys at that same price range. So I think that these guys might go a bit overlooked in a game where we think there's going to be a bunch of points scored and we know exactly where it's coming from. So I really like these guys. On the OU side, Jalen Moore is my favorite play. Sam Godwin has been missing time for Oklahoma in the front court that's pushed big minutes to Jalen Moore. He hasn't really had a massive game since then, but the minutes are there. So in a game like this against a poor defense, I think Moore is interesting, especially as a bring back if you play like 2 UConn here. Not interested in Samson Johnson down low. He projects well. He is one of the craziest foulers in the country. Him and Terrace Reed are going to split minutes at the 5, basically. Terrace Reed.
Oh, that was a shout out to like American Pie. Tara Reed.
Reed's got big upside if Samson Johnson fouls early, which he has a bunch this year. So depending on how many lineups you're playing, you could probably keep in the pool. But yeah, it's the main UConn pieces: Caravan, McNeely, and Diarra for me, with some Jalen Moore on the other side.
Yeah, these UConn plays look pretty good to me. And you got to think they're not going to win the 3 in a row. But Hurley's a psychopath. Like, he's playing it up to these guys. Like, let's make this run. Let's do that. They're going to play these guys as much as they. I think Caravan's like a pretty good play on this slate. Like, where
I like McNeely's
he can easily go for a big number. He's the vet. So him and what do you call it, Diarra? Those are the two that actually played minutes, right?
Yeah. Yep.
But I don't mind throwing them in there. They've been in the fire. I can see them having big games at these price points.
Yeah, it's Caravan, McNeely, Diarra are the 3 that I want first. I mean, there's just so many good plays on the slate. Like, we've talked about so many good plays. It's such a great MME slate.
Yeah. All right. What about the actual game, though? You think UConn wins easy?
I think UConn probably wins. I'm scared of their defense, but probably more scared next round when Florida is just going to pound them.
Yeah, that one will be tough. All right, next one, Illinois, Xavier. Illinois is 3.5, 160.5.
Yeah,
this is the game I have no idea how Illinois is 3.5. I feel like it's just a freebie to take Xavier. I don't. I'm plus 145 at DraftKings. I don't understand. So tell me what I'm missing because Xavier looks really good to me.
Xavier or Texas shot 70% in the first half of the playing game, and Xavier still won the game. I really like this Xavier team. We talked about
what matchup wise though. Why are they favored? Well, there has to be some matchup advantage or something. Where's it at?
Illinois is just like they're ranked super high on KenPom because they have a bunch of high level wins, but they're also super young. Like their three best players are all true freshmen. This Xavier team is old, tested. They play 5 seniors. We saw it on Wednesday. Like a young team on Wednesday probably folds after Texas is up 28%.
100%.
They're built to crush drop coverage, which we talked about on the bracket show. Illinois plays drop. You saw it in that game on Wednesday. Xavier just has so many guys who can get their own shot, can get into the paint, can hit perimeter shots. Like their best player on Wednesday was Marcus Foster, who he's like their 5th option. We saw both Conwell and Fremantle get into early foul trouble, and they still won the game. I really like this Xavier team. I've been riding them for a while. They've been hot down the stretch. So I think they win this game. I like them here. DFS wise, Fremantle, we saw him battle fouls and still get to 28, 29 minutes. I think he has upside beyond this in a tournament game. Like if things are going well, if it's close, if he avoids fouls. The Illinois guys have been pretty frustrating because they're kind of what's the right word? Like whack-a-mole, right? KJ will go off one game. Riley will go off one game.
What was that word? That was a good pull by you.
Whack-a-mole,
yeah,
like the game.
A good pull.
So it's just tough to pin down which guy is going to go off, right? Because they have 3 guys. It's kind of a game-to-game thing. So it's tough with the studs. I wouldn't play more than one of those top guys in the same lineup just because of the nature of that. And then Trey White has been playing a ton lately. He's their glue guy. He's going to get a bunch of peripherals. So I think he's playable as well. So lots of good plays in this game again. This is a huge total. We got a bunch of big totals today. These should be some fun games. This is like a game stack game, I think, Tony, where you just kind of pick a couple pieces because they're all I don't have a strong opinion on, who's better than who. I think you just kind of let it ride and have a couple pieces and mix and match,
Yep. I'm excited for this game just as far as actual basketball too.
Yeah.
Let's move it along. Bryant, Michigan State. Michigan State is 16.5, 152.5. You just talked about Tara Reid. Now we got Justin Timberlake or something in here. Freaking Timberlake, dude, playing for Bryant.
Yeah, we got Justin Timberlake and Jason Richardson's kid in this one.
See, we got all the pulls coming in the night session.
I'm excited for you to see Jace. He's really good. He's elevated this Sparty team's ceiling. The issue with Sparty, as we all know for DFS, is Izzo loves to run everyone out there, even the towel boy. I mean, look at the minutes on these projections. Yeah. It's Jace and nothing else for me in this game. The one guy when I was clicking through last night, click on this Keyshawn Mitchell guy from Bryant. Pull up his box scores real quick. Look at what this dude's been up to.
Where is he? I don't see. Oh, I'm looking at the guards.
4,800 forward there for. He's been
a couple 40 pieces in there. Still no minutes though. Those are always the enigmas to me.
Yeah, so I was going through here. So they played St. John's in the non-conference, and he put up 44 on St. John's. So,
and St. John's plays great defense, so that's even more impressive.
So I think I if I'm playing a bunch of lineups, I think I would include this guy just because of the upside. But obviously, the median projection is not going to be there on a guy only playing 20 minutes. So that's my only note on the Brian side. Like we said on the bracket show, Brian is just going to play, and the way that Brian wins is the 3 biggest strengths of Sparty. So it's just not going to happen for him.
Yeah, totally agree. Let's get to the last game. We got Liberty and Oregon. Oregon is 6.5, 138.5. And we got a decent game to finish the night, though, because I think this is in Washington too, right? Or did you say that it's somewhere out there?
Yeah, I think they're in Seattle. Yeah, they're in Seattle. So tough for Liberty to have to go out there. This is my survivor pick today is Oregon. This is my favorite of the 5 seeds to advance. Oregon's been playing well down the stretch because they've been pushing more minutes to our guy, Nate Biddle, who in our Discord is affectionately known as Nate Brittle because he kept getting hurt early in the year. So his ceiling is unlocked by playing over 30 minutes. We were asking for it all year. If you look at his last couple games, they finally did that. When the season's coming to games that matter, they started to push him more minutes. So I think the way I would use Biddle, besides probably locking him on that late slate, is if you're down or if you have a bust and you want to change a Cam Jones or something to a low-owned Nate Biddle, I think that's interesting. Just if you have to get back into it, I think is how I'd play him, use him as a swap piece more than anything. So I like him. And then Liberty's got a couple of cheaper guys that are interesting. Aquino is going to hit some optimals because he's 4K. He's a forward projecting for 4.6x. So he's a guy that I want to dig into a little bit more. He has a bit of foul risk, and Oregon's front court is tough. But at 4K, playing 25 minutes with a 4.6x, he is going to hit lineups, especially if you're using our projections.
Yeah. Totally. I think this game could play. This is another game I'll say that within a couple of minutes, I think you'll know how live Liberty is going to be.
I think you'll know if they have a chance or if Oregon's just going to out-athlete them.
Which definitely could happen for sure. All right, we'll move to the end part. Jason says, can you guys rank your favorite spend up for guard or forward? Okay. Guard.
Neek.
Man, I like that. Cam Jones is tough too. Nick definitely has to be, just looking at the numbers up top. But again, I mean, he's going to be the highest owned too, but he is the best play. Who's a pivot off up there that you like? The Haggerty dude, maybe?
Haggerty, yeah. I like both of the Memphis guys. I like Danger a lot too for tournaments. Warren Tyler, yeah, we forgot to mention Peter in that last game for Liberty. He was the other guy that I was saying projected well down low. So he would definitely be in the pool for sure.
Danger's your favorite forward?
Yeah, I mean, I have to keep riding with my guy Danger until he.
I think I got to go with a random one or not random, but this Junior Joseph looks good to me versus Marquette, and I might I always like to correlate my studs, at least on one of the teams. The Junior Joseph, Cam Jones, stud rollout seems good for me.
Also, if you get overtime in that game too, you get an extra 10 minutes of your 9K guys.
Oh, 100%. It's
combined.
Enormous. Both in the same spot too, where they're going back and forth and stuff.
Yeah. That's the best, You get the 100%. Extra 14 DK on a slate like this is huge.
Enormous difference. And it could easily happen too in that spot.
Yep.
All right. Give me your favorite play under, like we did yesterday, favorite play under 20% owned, and then your 3 favorite bets.
I think.
And your survivor. You got to you already gave it, I think, but say it again in this too.
Yeah. I like Oregon in survivor. I don't mind the UConn play. Who's the other one that I had? So I'm in a survivor pool where if you lose the first day, you can get back in if you hit 3 on day 2. So
I like that.
So in that I used Oregon, UConn, and Kentucky. Bets, Memphis. Let me pull it up. I got Memphis. I've got Arizona minus the 14. I love that. I took the over in the UConn game, like we talked about, two poor defenses. Game's going to get up and down. And then I didn't bet Baylor. I leaned Baylor. And then the low-owned guy that I like is the guy from St. Mary's that we talked about, Morauskas, who, if the minutes go his way, he's got huge upside. in a price range where everyone's just going to play the highest projected guys in that high 5K range.
Yeah, I love it. I was trying to find that low owned dude I liked. Oh yeah, it was my low owned guy is this PJ Haggerty, just because Danger is such a good play. I think Haggerty is just so low owned because of how everything lines up at the top. He's going to be the low owned guy. I like. Well, you can like correlate that way too. There's just like play Neek and play him. There's so many things you can do with studs today that make a ton of sense.
Haggerty's playing 39, 40 minutes here too, and he's had games where like he scores on 10 straight possessions, and you're just rolling.
Yeah.
He's like, everyone get out of the way. I'm going to score
the other dude too.
Yeah. So this is gonna be a fun slate. Like it's gonna be high scoring. Lineups will be really tough to I'm in the mania. Like it's gonna be tough to play one team in that, right? So it'll be fun.
Yep, sounds good. And my three bets: Xavier, Carolina, and Marquette are kind of the three teams that
we got to bet St. Mary's for Gavin. We got to bet him.
I'm definitely. They weren't one of my three, but I'm definitely betting them for Gavin. I'm definitely on that game 100%.
We need Gavin on the show tomorrow. We have to mention tomorrow and Sunday are going to be premium shows, so you have to get in now if you want to be a part of the shows for those awesome. These 2 days are awesome for watching games. I love the DFS slates for Saturday, Sunday, where it's 8 games. You get like a window. You can make decisions throughout the day.
I love how on the weekend they go to the 2-game split and then the night games. It makes it great for bets. It makes it great for fantasy. You can go get some food and watch a game. It makes the day. These 2 days are the best as far as the whole day. But I love those days like you do.
Yeah. Like yesterday, I was just trying to find a time where I could go shower or just do anything.
You only got the middle window, really. I went up and did that in the middle of the day, like when those afternoon games are finishing up, but there's no good window. I love the Saturday slate when it's like that.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, use code Steve15 if you want to get in our Discord. You'll get our core plays. You'll get Tony's bets, all of our projections that we're sharing for free on these shows will only be behind the paywall starting tomorrow. So join us, man.
It's cheap. I gave the whole speech on both the other shows, but use Steve 15. It's $70 for the whole month for all of March Madness stuff. $59.50 for freaking everything you get. Just get on there, Steve 15. Hook Steve up for all his work he's done. We'll get JBC will have bets in there too. Bryce.
I haven't slept all week trying to get all this content up.
Yeah. Hook the man up, Steve 15. Get on that. Join us this weekend. If not, we'll be back next week. I'm sure even though there's less games, I'm sure we'll do a show Thursday, Friday, maybe even Saturday, Sunday. If you want to have the free content, we'll be back for sure. But this weekend, definitely premium. Sign up. I mean, if you're playing fantasy, Steve 15, hook him up for all he's done. But let's have a big day today. Let's have some fun. Let's win some bets. Get in the Discord. Tons of info. There's always info. Random starters. Everything you could want. So be in that Discord. Let's have a good one, Steve. We'll see you.
Go Xavier.